Last Sunday was Mother's Day, so we want to devote this weekend show to women to address challenges and pitfalls that women face and could prevent them from having a successful retirement. You know, in today's world, it's paramount that women have access to financial literacy and advanced planning, just like their male counterparts. If you're a woman or if you have a special woman in your life, I think you're going to gain helpful information on this show. Hey, and welcome to the Wealth Guardians radio show. I'm your host, Doug Ray, and I appreciate you spending some of your weekend with us. Bryce is here in the studio with me. Hey, Bryce, how's it going, man?
I'm doing okay, Doug. How are you?
I can't complain.
You know, I was, I'll take a moment here. I was in a disc golf tournament last weekend, a charity event for Winston-Salem Humane Society, Discers for Whiskers. Have you ever played in a Pro-Am disc golf event or a golf event, Doug? I know you haven't played in a disc golf event.
No, neither one, actually.
Okay. Well, this was my first Pro-Am disc golf event, and obviously I was the am in the event. And we came in first, actually. But when I say we, I really mean he. Chris Hawks, my partner, came down from Virginia. I was just fortunate enough to get paired up with him. There is really not a lot of glory in coming in first when you're the am on a Pro-Am card. And they used, your team used maybe 2 of your drives, 2 of your approaches, and none of your putts.
Hey, that's all right. You got a big old beautiful trophy on your mantle right now.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, that's how I'm doing.
But it was for a good cause.
It was, absolutely.
All right, for those of you new to this show, this is Ray Financial and the Wealth Guardians. It's a local independent firm that works with folks within 7 to 10 years from retirement and also those that are already retired. You know, most people don't know how to turn their retirement savings into a steady flow of income once they're not on that paycheck anymore. I have focused my practice on retirement income planning. You know, history shows there's 2 powerful truths when it comes to finances and retirement. Number 1, what got you to retirement is not necessarily going to get you through retirement. And number 2, losses mean more than gains in retirement once you aren't drawing that paycheck.
And most importantly of all, Doug, we practice as fiduciaries, which means we are required to make recommendations that are in our client's best interests. We do not consider what is in our best interest.
Exactly that. And before we get started, I want to salute all of our veterans, our military, our first responders. Thank you for everything you do for us, our country, our community. Thank you so much.
And thanks to the families of all of those out there as well, because we know a lot of that falls on your shoulders as well. So thank you to the families.
You know, I think it's safe to say that in times past, men dominated the financial affairs of the home. And, you know, today that landscape's much different because of the growing presence of women in the workforce and also as heads of households. Specifically, this is an interesting statistic. Women control $18 trillion in consumer spending. They hold approximately 30% of all global wealth and are the sole head of 32% of U.S. households. Plus, more are inheriting wealth because of longevity and changing demographic patterns. Many women outlive their husbands if they have one, and so at some point, they're going to be the sole responsible person for their finances. So based on all these factors, women have substantial financial planning, investment, retirement, and wealth management needs. It's clear to see that women are taking on an increasingly larger responsibility for their long-term financial goals and health, but you know, many still face some common challenges when building wealth and securing that financial future for themselves. So that's what our show this week is going to focus on. The goal today is to provide some financial literacy and point out common pitfalls women are going to encounter.
All right, very good. So let's dive into those statistics a bit more. Globally, Doug, as you were saying, over 1 billion women participate in the workforce and yet hold 30% of the global wealth. And in the U.S., approximately 33% of working married women earn more than their husbands, while another 32% are, in fact, the sole head of their households. So that means 55% are primary wage earners for their families here in the U.S. Additionally, 48% of the millionaires in the U.S. are women. So it's worth noting in light of that studies show women are not as involved with financial planning on the whole as men. In fact, a 2011 report released by HSBC illustrated that many women are not prepared for retirement, and that's because only 24% of women in their 50s say that they have a financial plan in place. That's drastically too low, 24%. It's also been estimated that 65% of men make all or most of the household's financial decisions without input from their wives or female partners. And that one floors me there. And really, that's the problem, because the life expectancy, as you said, Doug, of American women averages about 5 to 7 years longer than American men.
Well, Bryce, statistics don't lie. Women face some challenges when building wealth and financial security because of the simple fact that most American women, and probably women worldwide, outlive their husbands and will have sole responsibility for their finances. This emphasizes how important it is for them to have not only a working knowledge of financial and retirement planning, but do everything they can to avoid some common challenges and pitfalls. We're going to discuss those today.
Well, we've already let the cat out of the bag on the first one, which is that while every family is different, women are more likely to outlive their husbands.
That's right. It's tough enough to deal with the emotion, the changes that happen when you become a widow. Add in the additional responsibility of handling all the finances, add a to-do list, and it can be overwhelming, especially if your husband was one of the 65% that handled the majority of the finances without any of your input. According to A Woman's Guide to Financial Planning, 90% of women will have sole responsibility for their finances at some point later in life. Without planning, that transition can add to an already stressful situation, and that leaves the door open for more costly errors. Bryce, it reminds me, I met with Scott and Dawn this week, and they're good friends of Sherry and mine. We've ushered together at church for years, and developed a nice friendship with him. And Scott has been the primary breadwinner. He's been the guy who's done the finances, and he's done a great job. And the fact is, they're getting close to retirement now, and they wanted a second opinion. They work with a major, brokerage house and have for several years, but they just feel like, they're not getting all the information they need going into retirement. And one of the first things Dawn said to me as we sat down for our initial planning is she says, I really don't know where any of our stuff is. And we find that's quite common with couples, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So I said, guys, if you get nothing out of this process, if you don't ever become clients, and certainly I hope you do, one of the things, Dawn, I think this is going to do for you is we're going to give you a binder of all your entire finances, your roadmap to retirement. It's going to have probably 5 to 7 tabs in it. And I think that'll give you some kind of comfort knowing where all your stuff is and where you're headed. So, this is a prime example of what we see every single day.
It is. And I guess the obvious question would be, what should women do to prepare for the responsibility, Doug?
Well, even if finances aren't your thing, and they certainly aren't Dawn's, and to steal a line from Nike, just do it.
Right.
Families need to have both partners involved in managing and planning the finances. Talk together, plan together, meet together with a financial expert so that both at least have some kind of a working knowledge of the whole big picture.
Budget together.
Yeah, it's okay for one to take the lead, but both need to be at least in the know.
Right.
At our firm, we always want married partners and couples to come together to our planning meetings. Let's go back to Scott and Dawn for a minute. When Scott first came to us about meeting, he said, well, does Dawn have to be there? And I said, well, no, she doesn't, but I would really like for her to be there. We always want the couple together in this planning process because it is their retirement.
It's kind of like saying, well, I'm going to go out and look to buy us a house. Does my wife need to come with me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, probably she does because that's going to be her house as well.
It's just so important to have that dialogue together. That way, no matter who outlives the other, the surviving partner knows what the plan is.
Absolutely. All right. Good points there, Doug. The next common challenge might be a bit of a sore spot, but many women face the fact that they are often earning and saving less than their counterpart men.
Yeah, and let me say right here, it generally doesn't have anything to do with their capability or quality of the body of their work. Statistics from a study in 2010 show that women's median annual income was only 77% of men's. A primary reason is that in our society particularly, but I'd have to say worldwide, women are more likely to become the caregivers to the kids when they're growing up than to the elderly parents and other relatives.
Right.
So they spend reduced time in the workforce, which results in lower lifetime earnings and less retirement savings and less Social Security income compared to their male counterparts.
Okay.
It isn't a reflection of a woman's ability or skill as much as cultural norms and the expectations when these life circumstances occur.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Okay, the last challenge we want to bring up in the first half of the show is that women tend to be more conservative investors. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're right. Research suggests women are more reluctant to accept risk in their investment portfolios, and I can say that's been my experience as well. Don't you agree, Bryce?
Yeah, I think I do. In our initial meetings when we meet with couples, we ask a whole bunch of risk tolerance questions, and most of the time the men have a higher risk tolerance versus the women do. That's my experience, and I know it's yours.
Yeah. Nothing wrong, but it can influence certain aspects of financial planning.
Absolutely.
Risk has a correlation with reward and growth, which has its place in the early stages of retirement planning. Being overly conservative in those early years can inhibit the ability of a portfolio to keep pace with inflation. As you approach retirement, it's appropriate to be much more conservative and still achieve good returns. There's new tools that achieve those quite nicely. It's a matter of being informed and the stage of planning you're in and the appropriate tools and strategies.
Yeah, well said, Doug. We're coming up against a break here. We do appreciate everyone listening, and you are listening to the Wealth Guardians radio show. Folks, if you like what you're hearing, please consider liking us on our Wealth Guardians radio show Facebook page. And when we come back, we'll jump back into this conversation on the challenges and pitfalls women face in financial and retirement planning. And welcome back to the Wealth Guardians radio show, where we help our clients retire the job, but not the paycheck. For listeners who are 5 to 7 years from retirement and want to confirm that they're making the best decisions for retirement, we offer a no-cost, no-obligation second opinion to make sure that you are on the right path, especially if you're a woman who hasn't met with an advisor or is recently widowed or divorced and is in need of financial guidance. Please call us. We're happy to help. 336-391-3409, or visit us on our website, www.thewealthguardians.com. Now, Doug, before the break, we discussed some challenges most women face during their lifetime when it comes to finances. Now I want to turn to some pitfalls that could be quite costly. The first one being, since it's shown statistically that most women will live longer, the pitfall is failing to plan for that longer life eventuality.
Well, it's especially important to employ strategies that will balance a sustainable withdrawal rate for a long lifespan with the right balance of risk and the need to, for that growth to outpace inflation when considering that women really do generally live longer than their partners, on average 5 to 7 years.
Right.
Balancing those factors is critical to establish an income stream that won't run out of life before she does. But of course, it can be said that this applies whether you're male or female. Today, there's specific retirement planning tools and strategies that create a personal pension that provides a lifetime payout. So you don't have to worry about outliving your money.
And boy, wouldn't that be a relief to not have to worry about that. Okay, another pitfall that could cost a woman big time is failing to plan for healthcare expenses. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, exactly, Bryce. And again, this is true whether you're male or female. We're focusing on women because they're more often they survive their partners, but it's just as critical to include healthcare planning in your overall retirement plan and income needs. Healthcare, health insurance, Med-Sup, long-term care can all be expensive, and they're not getting a bit cheaper. Healthcare expenses are the leading cause of depletion of retirement assets.
That is true. Yep.
There's strategies out there to prevent this from happening, but you have to be proactive in planning. The old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, is absolutely true in this case.
Right.
An experienced financial advisor is going to help you factor these costs into an overall retirement plan.
Just as we do. Very true. Okay, good points. Another pitfall that has to be considered by women is making emotional investment decisions and not having the proper risk management strategy in place.
Emotional decisions, that is the pitfall of most investors, and that can wreak havoc on the best investment plan, especially during market swings, which of course they're part of the natural cycle. There was a study done in 2011 by the benefits company Aon Hewitt. It showed that boomers are especially at risk of making an emotional financial decision. Lots of investors lost big in 2008, partly because they didn't have a strategy in place to adjust to that market swing. Some folks, and this is typical, cash out near the bottom. They sit in cash when the market goes up. So not only do they lose on the downswing, they lost on the upswing. Yep. You got to have proper risk management systems and tools in place so emotions don't come into play. The benefit of working with us is our planning balances risk and safe money, and even our risk tools have downside protection that automatically triggers within certain market occurrences so you don't ride the market all the way down. And then the recovery is much quicker. Statistics bear out again and again that in retirement, especially, losses mean more than gains. Avoid big losses, and your retirement plan and lifestyle will stay intact. Think of this analogy. Markets are like the weather. They change daily. And you have to have tools at the ready to protect when conditions go south on you. Now, let me ask you a question. Did your retirement plan have a system in place to protect you during the 2008 decline? If so, you spent much more time growing your accounts and less time making up losses. There's going to come a time when time is not your ally. This is definitely true when you're 5 to 7 years before or after retirement. It's a critical time for protection of your finances if they're going to last as long as you do, or hopefully longer.
Yeah, hopefully longer, exactly. Okay, Doug, the next pitfall on the list as we get close to the end of our show is not considering professional advice. Why would somebody do that?
Well, you're right, but it also has to be the right kind of advice. What I mean is work with a financial advisor in a firm that has the credentials and the experience for your specific situation. Let's go back to my friends Scott and Dawn.
Okay.
They've done a great job of preparing for retirement in that growth stage of their life. They've been with a major brokerage firm for several years. But basically all that broker was doing was just moving pieces on a chessboard for him.
Very common.
He wasn't doing any proactive retirement planning, and Scott realized that. And that's why they came and they sat down. So you got to have someone you trust that can answer and explain everything to your satisfaction. It also has a variety of tools and strategies to accomplish what you want out of the financial and retirement planning. I realized years ago that most advisors and firms out there were more focused on investment portfolio growth, moving pieces around on a chessboard, if you will, rather than the preservation and the distribution phase of life. In other words, they're not focusing on the group close to and in retirement. And that's why I decided to devote my continuing ed and my experience in that area. And Bryce, you did as well.
I have done it, and I continue to do it. Yep.
You absolutely do. Right now, you're studying for your retirement income certified professional designation from the American College, and I tip my hat to you. I think every advisor who works with seniors ought to have that education under their belt.
I'm learning a lot.
People work their whole life towards retirement, but you have to understand a transition occurs as you approach retirement. We like to say what got you to retirement may not get you through retirement. As I mentioned before, I've got a lot of credentials behind my name, including that RICP. And that RICP designation addresses all needs of retirement. A retiree needs their money and through the rest of their life. It has to factor in income. It has to factor tax efficiency, medical expenses, inflation. So if you want more information, give us a call at our office and let's set up a meeting. We also have a report on our website called The 5 Things Your Retirement Plan Must Have in Order to Be Successful. It's a free download, and it's on the media tab on our website.
And Doug, I like what you said about the chess match. I used to play chess, and I can think back to when I was playing bad chess, that I was just reacting to my opponent's move time after time. And then when I was playing good chess, I had a strategy in place and was still working my strategy almost no matter what the opponent was doing. I guess you would respond to that, but you kept on going with your strategy as opposed to just reacting move to whatever your opponent was doing. And so I like that analogy. I'm going to use that if you don't mind.
No, go right ahead. And, it's amazing to me, following on top of that, how many people don't have a strategy or a plan in place when they retire. I mean, one day they're working, the next day they're not. They have no idea where the next check is going to come from.
Or they've gotten advice from here, advice from there, but it's not coordinated. They've got a whole bunch of puzzle pieces, but they've never put the whole puzzle together to see if it actually forms a cohesive picture or not. Doug, the last pitfall to bring up today is ignoring your legacy. What does that mean?
Well, one of the rewards for hard work, effective wealth management, and planning is a job for providing for your loved ones and your charitable causes. Those things that are really close to your heart, your church, your synagogue, cancer society, whatever it may be. We found as people move towards retirement, they begin to think more about legacy. What are they going to leave behind and how are they going to leave it behind? Women more likely are responsible for that final disposition because, again, usually they're the ones that live the longest.
Right.
It's important to discuss in advance your family's estate plan and how it will be implemented when that time comes.
So do we work with estate planning ourselves, Doug?
We absolutely do.
Okay, very good. So let's talk just for a minute as we start to wrap things up about our 4-meeting process with our clients.
Yeah, so, it's a 4-meeting process. It can typically run longer if the need be. The first meeting is the initial get-together. We ask you to bring in a lot of documents, which we tell you ahead of time. The second meeting, Bryce and I have done some homework by then. We've put together a Social Security strategy. We've identified the risk in your portfolio. We're going to measure your risk tolerance. And we're also going to be able to define the fees that you're paying in your current portfolio. And we uncover the fees that you know about and also the hidden cost in that portfolio. And believe me, this meeting is typically an eye-opening meeting for most people.
Yep.
By the third meeting, this is what we call our draft plan meeting. This is where we put it all together. We look at it up on the big screen. This is where we're starting to build your roadmap to retirement. We show you how we would organize your portfolio from where it is to both save losses in a downside market. We want to keep that controlled to 5 to 10% in a 2008 type situation. We want to cut your fees. Our goal is to cut them in half at least. But also, more importantly, we want to build that retirement roadmap. We want to show you where your money's going to come from every single year of your life and build out that plan to age 100. That's our goal. And then get your input.
Yeah, and now this is quite expensive, what we do. What do we charge our clients for this?
$0.
No, it sounded like you said $0 there, Doug.
I said $0.
We don't charge people at all for this, folks, so there is no cost and no obligation for this. So let's see if we can identify areas where we can offer additional options and more tax efficiency and Social Security optimization for you, whether you're a single woman, whether you're a widow, a divorcee, or part of a couple. We'd like to invite you to take advantage of our second opinion offer of your current situation to confirm that your strategy is one of participate and protect. So call our office to schedule. It's 336-391-3409, or visit us on our website, www.thewealthguardians.com. Let us show you how to retire the job but still keep the paycheck. And I also want to remind listeners again of our upcoming Social Security workshop, June 11th and 13th. Call us again, 336-391-3409 to register, or online at thewealthguardians.com. And at the end of our fourth meeting, like our friends Scott and Dawn, you're going to leave with a bound roadmap to retirement that's probably got 5 to 7 tabs in it. All right. It's very helpful for anyone to be able to walk out and have that written bound plan for them. Folks, thanks for listening, and we'll be here again next week on the Wealth Guardians radio show. Have a great weekend.